All right. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Wine, Women, and Words. I am Michelle, and with me, of course, is Diana.
Hello.
And this evening, we are going to be talking with Eliza Knight. We have two books to discuss, but we're very excited to dive into both of them. So thank you so much for making some time for us this evening. We're so happy to have you.
My pleasure. I'm so excited to be here with you guys. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Now, I think first off, we were just talking about pets before we hit record, and I think it's very important that, well, not important, but very funny. I don't know if it ever came up. You've been on the show at least twice before,
Mhm.
um, and if it's come up before and I'm repeating myself, I apologize. But I love that we both have animals named fish that are not fish.
So ironic, isn't it? Oh
Because I have a cat named Fish.
my God, that's hilarious. Like
And
that's
you're,
I think that's even funnier because like at least my turtle like is in water and the kids are like, "Oh, human fish, that's funny." But like cat, that is hilarious.
he's just like a walking identity crisis because he also thinks he's a dog.
Oh my
So he's just a hot mess. But I felt it very important to get that out of the way at the
God,
start of the interview.
I love that you brought that up.
Turtle name Fish, Eliza. And Michelle, I love both of your cats' names. It's Fish and Chips, which is just
Oh my God.
perfect.
Yeah, I have to mention that because fish and chips, I love fish and chips. I love to eat not your cats, but like the meal.
Hmm.
The dish.
I probably would like get all like up in their face and squishy squishy.
Well, fish, you could definitely do that. Chips would not appreciate that, but he doesn't appreciate anyone but my husband, so you can't
My
take it personally.
my daughter's cat, she was living here with us for a few months and she doesn't appreciate it either, but I like still like do it and she's like, "Oh my God." And she'll like tolerate it for a second, then she's like, "Okay, enough."
That's cats.
Yeah.
So, Diana, you pick which book are we discussing first?
Um, well, Confessions of a Grammar Queen is technically historical on my because it's 1960s. So let's start off with a historical fiction one first. Because of course I'm going to choose
So,
a historical
let's
fiction one
yeah.
first. I mean, come on.
It's very on brand.
Mhm.
Very.
Yes.
So, for our readers who may not yet be, or I guess our listeners who may not be familiar yet with Confessions of a Grammar Queen, can you give us an overview of what the story is about?
Sure. So the book takes place in 1963, and the main character, well, there's two, but the main character, the human one, is Bernadette Swift, and she is a young copy editor at a publishing house in the city, and she has aspirations of becoming the first female CEO. However, she has a lot of walls that she needs to break down to get there, one of whom is her boss. She has some sexist coworkers. And society itself doesn't really necessarily believe that women should have higher positions within the workplace. And then we have a minor other character. His name is Frank, and he is a Great Dane, and he is Bernadette's companion. And he helps her, navigate emotional turmoils that she's going through, but also he's just like a really funny dog and kind of like the mayor of the borough that they live in the city. And he has a great little ending where he helps her kind of get like her revenge on her mean boss.
I love this theme where animals are starting to come up more and more in books. Because I you did the one with the Queen's corgis
Yes,
recently, yes. And then of course you've got the Great Dane, which they're just such great dogs.
they are. They're so cute. And Frank was actually named after a Great Dane that I met in a bar in Ohio. Funny enough, we were just talking about Ohio before we started recording. And he like basically walked into the bar by himself. His owner was outside, but like everyone knew who Frank was, and they were like, "Oh, hey Frank, like, can I give you some water? Do you want some of my fries?" was like, this dog is like just a patron of the bar. What is happening right now? It was so funny. And then we found out that the owner was outside. He had another Great Dane that was like working that crowd out there. I was like, at that time, I had just finished writing the Corgi book, actually. And I had so much fun writing Susan's personality that I was like, okay, I really want to do another dog. And this dog seems like a firecracker that I have got to put into a book.
Oh, I hope Frank's owner comes across the book and goes, wait a minute,
That would be so
this
fun.
sounds a little like my dog.
Yeah, it's cute. I love that dog.
So kind of this actually segues kind of nicely into one of my questions, which is establishing voices. I think for me, fiction writing, that's one of the things that I struggle the most with is coming up with unique voices and tones for my character where where they really jump off the page. Dialogue is really hard for me. Um, but what is your process to kind of establish your main character's voice, and how did you help Bernadette find hers through in the writing process?
I think like I agree, voice is really hard to figure out. And for me, it's sort of like a process of figuring out who they are and like, what their interests are, what their flaws are, what their strengths are, and what their personality really is like. And Bernadette is kind of a stickler for the rules. She loves words. She's a little bit nerdy, but she's also like super into fashion. Her favorite color is pink and she wears it almost every day. And she is funny too. And the things that she says and her thoughts, she does a lot of like correlating people to animals with their behavior and things like that. And so in the beginning of the book, you see all those sorts of things in her voice. But the one thing that I really wanted to portray was that she's a little bit, I want to not necessarily shy, but in the beginning, she doesn't speak up as much as she does towards the end. So she sort of starts breaking her own rules about speaking out for herself, and she becomes more confident in herself and her job and her place in the world. And I feel like that made her voice stronger as the story carried through. So that was really important to me to show that change in her arc through even the things she sang. There's one part in the book that was one of my favorite scenes to write, and I was really worried that my editor would be like, this doesn't really seem appropriate. And it's when these guys, they sabotage something of hers at work, and she comes right out and she says like the vulgar thing that they wrote on something that she was working on. And I was like, I don't know if this would fly, like, in the 60s of a woman saying this, but I was like, this fits her. Like, she is coming out of her shell and she is standing up for herself and other women. And it's also funny. So establishing her voice was just a lot like figuring out her personality and then how she's going to grow. And I really wanted it to be, we're dealing with some heavy topics in the book, but I also really wanted it to be funny and like have some comedic relief. And I think that is partly where her like quirks come from.
Well, she definitely, I think there was one word. I love the opening paragraph and what like the titles that she would give herself if they could all fit on her nameplate. And first of all, I had to look up some of those grammatical terms. I was like, I don't even remember what that is. But the fact that she used biennium, I have never heard the word biennium before. And I think that single word in that in that paragraph kind of like defined who she was. Like it really showed that she loves the art of language and she's like a total word nerd and she just really loves wordplay. And
Yeah.
I don't know, that one word kind of really encapsulated who she was for me from the start.
I'm so glad because that was something I really had to work hard with. Like, I don't naturally speak the way Bernadette does, and I don't naturally think in words like biennium or like, Jabberwocky and all these other things that she's always like. And so I like spent a lot of time researching words and reading like, dictionary.com has articles like almost daily on different words that you can use for, and they'll have like themes or they'll just, go down like one word and like talk about this one word. Like, so I spent a lot of time reading articles on language and word choice and just playing with it and seeing like, how could I fit this into something that Bernadette is thinking or saying? Or like I would come across a word and be like, ooh, I should switch this one out for what I had her say there.
Mhm.
Or I'd be like, well, I want her to say this. I wonder if this word, if there's another word that exists for this that's more fun. And so that was something that was really enjoyable. And the funny thing is, I worked really, really hard on that, but it started to like falter, I think, towards like the last third of the book. And my editor was like, we're getting all of this like fun language, and then it kind of falters a little bit. And I was like, oh, whoops. In my edits, I had to go back through and make sure that I had like it matching, because that was really, really hard to do and to think and talk like that when it's not natural for me, but it would be natural
Mhm.
for her. So making sure that I kept that up through the whole book was like definitely um, a challenge.
And I want to, on that note, I want to segue because yeah, keeping up with the language or even just a theme in a story, I find can be hard and difficult. I'm like, why did Past Diana do this? Um,
Exactly.
I I have the book that I'm working on right now. I did something. It wasn't with language, but I did something with a with this character that I don't want to give away any spoilers, but it was this one like thing that she does. And then like subsequent edits, I'm like, oh, I kind of lose that. It kind of falls away, and I'm like,
Yes.
shit, I need to go back and add this in.
I do that all the time. And the same thing like with theme too, not just like the voice of the character. Like I'll be like, oh, I think this will be a great theme. And like I do it like halfway through the book and then I forget. And I'm like, it falls away completely. And I'm like going through the read through and the edits and I'm like, wait a second, I just completely missed this. And have to add it back, you know, like go back in and like thread it in more.
And this is why editing is so important. I feel like it's more important than the drafting process, and I I feel like this is where a lot of the artistry comes in because then we have to do these annoying things where we have to bring in those themes, bring in that language that we thought was really great in the beginning, and then we get to the sticky middle, and we're just like, okay, we just have to finish this book.
Yes. You're like, go, go, go. I actually, you know, it sounds like you might be in the same boat as me, but like, editing is my favorite part of the
Yeah.
writing process because, like you said, that is like where the magic comes into play. And you get to like massage those sentences and like bump up those themes and really play with the book versus when you're trying to make sure you get like the framework down.
Yeah, I feel like drafting could be such a slog
Yeah.
when it comes down to it, where it's like, okay, I just have to vomit out these sentences. I just
I
don't
can make,
worry, this is going to be crap. It's supposed to be crap. I've got to just put this clay on here and I'll deal with it later.
yes. No one is ever allowed to see my first drafts. Like my first drafts are usually around 50,000 words for a 90,000 word novel. And it's going back in and doing those like subsequent drafts that I'm like really layering and adding and making it actually readable. Prior to that, I wouldn't even like if my editor was like, can you send me something just so I can see what you're doing? I'd be like, absolutely not. You have to let me edit it first.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely. And
so
it's funny
bad.
that you bring up the 50,000 words thing because because I've been branching out of doing biographical
Yeah.
historical fiction and going into other historical fiction. And I'm finding that the other historical fiction where I actually have to come up with everything on my own is my first drafts are a lot smaller.
Yes. Yes.
And that was something that I had to get used to because it was like, wait a minute, like I could do my first draft would be like a good 80,000 words
Right.
minimum
Right.
for my other two. Yeah, and these other ones are like that I worked on the first drafts for like 50, 40,000. And I'm like, oh shit.
That's the thing too that I noticed because this is a non-biographical fiction for me too. So it's just my creative, you know, like I based it on things that had happened and you know was inspired by some women in history, but it's not biographical. And my biographicals, I've always found like the same thing. They came in super long, and then my editor would be like, "I need you to cut 50 pages. I need you to cut, you know, 10,000 words, whatever it was." And I just felt like I was overwriting. And now with this one, I
Mhm.
feel like there's a lot more wiggle room and also like you don't have to follow like the hardcore um like a person's life timeline, which is very difficult. And like, I love writing biographical fiction, not saying anything bad about that, but it is just like way harder.
Yeah, because it feels like with biographical fiction, you get this outline already that you can like play with because it's a person's life. And so you're like, all right, I already know where I'm gonna go. I already know what this roadmap is going to have to look like. And then like all this stuff, I'm like, yeah, it's just it's when you come into all of it and it's it feels like it's much harder to like do the writing thing when you're like, okay, this all has to come from my head now.
Right. It is. It's like a whole totally new like writing medium, I feel like. I had to learn how to write all over again, which is something I kept saying during the drafting. I was like, wow, I don't know how to write. Like I was writing fiction before, but I had a roadmap and now I'm like creating the roadmap, and that was definitely something new for me. But I liked
Yeah.
it. Yeah, in the end I was like, this is awesome. I felt a little bit free, free to be a little more creative.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, I can make them do this, and I'm not under these strict constraints where they have to be in this certain place at this certain time. They
Yeah,
can be on the other side of town and nobody's gonna give a shit.
exactly. Exactly. I got to figure out why they did something that they did, and I can't go ask them because they existed hundreds of years ago.
So
So
on
you
that
just made me,
note,
oh,
oh, go ahead,
I
Michelle, go ahead.
just a quick question. Out of sheer curiosity, how do you not let yourself get like sucked in? Like 50,000 words is not, I mean, it's a lot, but it's not a lot for a whole draft. How do you keep yourself like from getting like bogged down into like, oh, let me work on this, like just to get it done?
I think like prior to starting a manuscript, I always have everything pretty much plotted out. Like I use a spreadsheet, so I know the beats that I want to meet and
Hmm.
the things that are important for the story. And I learned a long time ago not to stop the word process to research, because my first historical fiction took me 5 years to write, and it was because I kept stopping to like go do research. And I figured out a way to kind of get around that. So like before the book starts, I plot it out. I have the historical timeline. I have all my historical notes ready so that I can just focus on writing the fast draft. And the 50,000 words is missing a lot of stuff. So it's missing a lot of like the emotional um, beats. It's missing a lot of the details. So I might be like, yeah, she went into the office and she sat at her desk and she, was working on edits. But then like when I go back in and edit, I describe the office, the sounds, maybe, a
Okay.
coworker there. And then that's when I might, have her be actually editing and show like what the editing process looks like. So like those later drafts are layering in all those details that I'm really missing, because the first part is really me just developing like the frame of the book, like the plot points, and
Mhm.
then I fill in all of that stuff. But the other thing is I'll like, if I come across something I'm like writing and I'm like, oh, I don't remember what that was when I did my research, and I don't see it in my notes. I need to actually do a lot more research on this particular whatever it is. I just do like a comment in the Word, because I use Word to write. I'll do like a comment and I'll be
Mhm.
like, go find this later. And then when I'm doing my edits, I come across that note to myself and I'm like, oh, okay, now is my time to like research this and fully flesh it out. Because I used to then just stop for like 3 days and like go down like the research rabbit hole. And I was doing that all the time. And that made the
Yeah.
writing take a really long time. Because then, I don't know about you guys, but if you step away from where you are, and even
Mhm.
for a few days or a week to go to the beach, whatever it is, coming back to it, I feel like I have to reread where I'm at. Like I don't know what I'm doing or where I'm supposed to be going, and I need to like reread to get into the flow of it. And that takes a lot of time.
Absolutely, absolutely. I've done that more
Yeah.
than once where
Oh,
I've stepped away going for a vacation. I come back, I'm like, what the hell?
I don't
Book I'm
know.
working on right now. Yeah, it's been the same way where it's just like I don't know what I wrote.
Yeah,
Uh, and so
it's
yeah, and then there's also the habit part of it where it's like being writing also it becomes a habit and a form of therapy. I
yeah,
think as writers, I think that really is what differentiates. a lot of the whole like those questions of, well, why do you do it? Why do you keep going through it? Well, it's like a form of therapy. To the point where my husband, if I get cranky, there are three questions my husband asks me. Have you had a nap? Are you hungry? Have you written today? Those are
Yes.
like the three questions that he goes through if I'm really cranky, because if I go a few days without writing, he's like, he starts asking those questions, and we get to the writing. I'm like, oh yeah, it's been a few days. I get tense and jittery. Yeah.
Mine's pretty much the same, except also like add in there, like, have you been outside? Because I like have to go outside during the day, even if I'm just like having my coffee outside. Like I need that like sunlight, I need like the fresh air, and I need to
Mhm.
step away from my desk, I think.
I write in all areas of my house and even outside sometimes, just so that I can get the most out of my tax break that I get from working at home.
There you go. I like that. I don't know, like I'm like a creature of habit. I have to write at my desk. And the thing that I had to learn this summer was how to like do it in different places, because I had the book tours this summer and like the conferences and stuff like that. And I was on deadline. So I had to write on my laptop. And it was like, trying to drag a toddler to the bathtub. I was like, oh, I don't want to do it. I can't do it. And I'll be like, no, you have to do it because this book is due and you can't write it when you get home. Like you don't have enough time.
Yes, and that brings me to the point where this book, Confessions of a Grammar Queen, came out this June.
Yes.
And then under the name Michele Brandon, you came out with Rush Week in July of this year. Yes?
Busy summer.
Insane. It was an insane
Busy year. Let's go back a little bit. Busy year, because when we look at the timeline for books,
yeah.
how are you still standing? How are you still functioning? Because that you had a lot of deadlines, girl.
I did. And because I also had two books due this summer within a couple weeks of each other.
Yikes.
On top of this, on top of these,
on top of that, it was
how do you do it?
I honestly can't tell you, and I don't recommend it at all. Like I a lot of caffeine, not enough sleep. I just wrote like a post earlier today on Instagram story where I was saying like I just cleaned my office today for the first time this year. Like I just set aside like all sorts of things. Like I didn't clean my office, and I normally do that between projects to like reset.
Mhm.
Just didn't do a lot of stuff. Like I have a lot of house projects that I need to do. I didn't finish like unpacking some things. And so I honestly don't know, but on Friday when I turned in, I had a romance novel due as well. So that's just another crazy thing, but that was my last one for a little while. But I had that due Friday, and I literally like slept all weekend. And I don't normally like, for me, sleeping in is like 7 a.m., 6:45 if I'm
Same.
and I'm not kidding you, I slept till like 9:30 for 3 days in a row. Like, and it was like I was sleeping like 9 or 10 hours every night, just exhausted. And this week, like I was telling you guys before we started recording, like I'm not working this week. I'm just playing catch up, sleeping, and I'm reading tomorrow to reboot, because it was really, really, really hard. And I'm lucky, like I have, my family was, very supportive of that, and not like angry with me when I'd be like, oh, I gotta go back, working like 14 hours a day to get stuff done. They were really, really good about that and helpful, grocery runs, feed me dinner.
That's a pretty grueling schedule for such a prolonged period of time.
It was, and it seemed like it seemed okay, like back in like September last year when I was like, okay, I can do that. It seemed okay until it like all compounded at
Mhm.
once. And then I was like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. But I made it through and I survived.
You survived,
Oh,
and then there are two fantastic books that are out in the world right now.
Yes. Yeah. I just
And
channeled my inner Bernadette, I guess, and just became like a boss.
so for Rush Week, I was just switching over really quick to book number 2. Can you share the synopsis about that one? Because this is very different.
Oh yeah, so it's completely different. Eliza's books are historical, obviously. I wouldn't say they're wholesome, but they're a lot nicer than Michelle's books. I'll put it that way. Michelle's books are revenge contemporary novels. They're suspense-ish. I'm really calling it like my revenge fiction. And they are just juicy, scandalous, over the top, fun. But yeah, so Rush Week is about 4 sorority sisters who went to school together, and they sort of ruled their sorority. And while they were in their sorority, they did a lot of not so nice things that they confessed to in this book they called the Spill Book, that they had during their Spill the Tea parties with the other sorority girls. And to be in the sorority, you had to spill your deep, dark secrets in the Spill Book. Well, they buried the book in a time capsule that wasn't supposed to be dug up for 100 years. However, it is being dug up 5 years after graduation early, and someone has stolen the book with all their secrets and is blackmailing them to that they're gonna spill all the secrets. And so the girls come back, well, they're women at this point, come back to school to try to figure out who has taken their figure out who has taken the spill book and stop them from basically spilling their secrets before they can reconcile with everyone that they feel like they've done wrong in their past.
This feels like a much more high stakes than the burn book for Mean Girls. And I am totally here for it. I'm totally here for that.
High stakes because some of the things that they did are illegal, and they wouldn't want it to get out. They all have high stakes positions in their real life. One of them's a multi-million-dollar contracted mommy influencer. One is the CEO of a company. So like they have a lot to lose as their adult selves from the things that they did in college that they thought they had put aside,
Mhm.
kind of walked away from, and now it's all coming back to haunt them, which was super fun. And my initial draft that I handed to my editor, she was like, love this, but I challenge you to go harder with this. More juice, more sand. Like, what? This is already so crazy. And so I was like, all right. It was like one of those like hold my beer moments, and like just I really had a lot of fun with that book. Yeah, I like those girls. I mean, they're like anti-heroines. They're unlikable characters, but I still like them.
I feel like as much as we have the women's empowerment and we have, ruining for for women, we also have to have I am going to be the voice of I love the anti-heroes. I love the flawed women. And I know when I was in college, I did not have social media. It was not a thing until after I got out of college. And I thank God every day I did not have it while I was in college.
Yes. I also think that. And my oldest daughter wasn't really into social media. So that's cool. But my middle one loves social media. And I always worry, like, oh my gosh, like what's gonna like end up, is any like she doesn't do anything crazy, but she is in a sorority and she does have like, a good time. So I'm like, oh, just be careful what you post.
Exactly. Exactly. And I know we are coming up to our half hour. So and I don't want to keep you too long because I know you're so busy and I'm so thankful that you came on. Um, I want to know what you plan on reading tomorrow because you've mentioned this a couple times that tomorrow you're going to force yourself, you're going to sit down, you're going to read and take a day just to read. So I want to know what you're reading tomorrow.
So tomorrow, I just started this book that there's a bookseller that I do a lot of events with, and she's also an author. Her name's Julia Bodwell, and her book, This Side of the Hudson, I think it comes out in September. But she sent me an arc, and it's really good. It's like a star-crossed lover, like teen novel. So it
Ooh.
starts off with a tragedy, which it was like really shocking, and then I just started it, so I'm really, really enjoying that. And it's a very quick paced read, and I love books like that. So I'm planning on hopefully just binging that whole thing tomorrow. But yeah,
I love that.
That sounds amazing.
it's good.
I
Everyone
have
needs a
an
full day to just read.
Right?
That
I'm
should
looking
be.
forward to that.
Yes, I have a very long flight coming up at the end of the month, and so I've got this whole list of books. I'm just like, I'm just gonna spend. It's a 10-hour flight. Who needs to sleep? I'm going to read all the books on my list that I have not been able to read while I'm on deadline.
That's what I did on my flight this summer when we went on vacation. It was also a 10-hour flight, and I read I think it was called The White Fox. It was a book that was sold at H&S. Really
Oh,
good.
Yangtze Chu?
Or The Fox Wife, that's what it was.
Yes, the Foxwife.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I
It
read
was
that one. I
really,
love that one.
yeah, it was really good. So I read that on the way there, and then I read, I think it was The Ghost Writer on the way back. Like that was a good one too.
Love that book. That was such a good book. Yeah, I was reading that one leading up to and during HNS.
Oh yay. It was good.
Yes. Yeah, it was really good. I think for Julia, I think she's such a great writer. We need to have her on the podcast. We haven't had her on a podcast yet, but I love her thrillers, and I think of all the thrillers, I think that one was my favorite of
I
all of them.
I also really liked that it blended, like it was like a historical thriller, and it blended, modern day with the historical story, and I loved that. I loved
Yes, yes. And it had that like the Stephen King elements to it and the
it.
father-daughter relationship. I really like that.
Good.
Yes.
We can talk books for like hours and
Literally,
not
Totally.
not get bored ever.
literally never. I love it.
Well, both of your books are out now in the world, and if anyone would like to order them, oh, let's see if I can do it this week. We took about a year hiatus, and we just started the podcast last week, so we're trying to remember like like our intros, how we used to do it, and how we used to close everything out, and we're very rusty. But Diana did the closing last week, so let me see if I can try it this
You got
week.
this, Michelle. I'm rooting for
So
you.
both. So if anyone would like to order a copy of Confessions of a Grammar Queen or Rush Week, be sure to check out the link in our show notes to our bookshop on bookshop.org. As always, bookshop.org supports all of our incredible authors. It supports the podcast, but most importantly, it supports all of the wonderful indie bookstores out there. And that was it. I did it. And Eliza, thank you so much for making time for us, especially in this crazy schedule that you've had. I hope you do absolutely nothing tomorrow but read.
Oh, I had so much fun chatting with you guys. So it was a no-brainer for me. And I love, talking about books and writing and everything. So you can have me anytime.
Fantastic. We will take you up on that.
Yes, we will. Well, enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll chat with you guys online.